Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Average Dudes podcast, the ADP. I am your average dude host, Matt Mormon, and a special guest joining me here today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited about this. Ryan McDaniel. Ryan, how are you doing?
I am doing good. It feels weird to be on the opposite end of this, but I'm
Yeah,
doing good.
me and you have been talking to microphones together since the summer of 2017.
Yep.
Our 6-year anniversary is probably coming up here pretty soon. It may have actually just happened because I think I was in Atlanta for my internship when it happened. So that
It
was
was,
during the summer.
and it was NBA
Uh,
Summer League.
yeah, so it's right about now. Have I ever done the intro on a show that we've done together? That was
I think
weird.
so. I think we've done a couple where we've tossed around intros like Peter, you can do it. Matt, you can do it. We've done it, but usually I'm the one doing it, so it feels a little bit weird to be on the other side of it. But great to be here.
And of course, Ryan, that is for the Views from the 573 podcast. You can check that out everywhere you're getting this one, even on YouTube. You can go look up the YouTube channel for it. Also, Views from the 573. Also, there's the entertainment of the 573 podcast. Also, check that out. That's where Ryan talks about movies. I've popped on that one a few times as well, a little bit outside of my comfort zone for sure. But hey, if you keep me within the Marvel and Star Wars spheres, I can hold my own. When you start talking about those other ones, that's where I start to get, a little iffy. But
Well, or unless somebody gives you a really good wedding gift present for a podcast.
well, that's gonna happen here before too long. We're gonna talk some Pixar movies. At the request of my lovely fiance Rebecca, we're gonna talk about those. But that's not what we're here for today. Today we are here to talk about football and specifically fantasy football. And we got kind of a little bit of a different flavor for this episode because Ryan, you play fantasy, you're definitely a fantasy guy. But I feel like to me personally, you're more of an actual football fan and you're definitely a Tennessee Titans fan. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Tennessee Titans, where we're feeling about them for fantasy. There's a couple very interesting players for them. Obviously, Derrick Henry has been at the top of draft boards for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Are we at the end of the rope? Do we still have years to go with Derrick Henry? How are we feeling about it for this year? Also, Traylon Burks is a very exciting breakout candidate, kind of in the middle rounds. I took him in a recent mock. I believe it's in round 7. I was really happy with that. And then Chigakonkwo is a super fun sleeper player to hit on. Everyone, I mean, every fantasy analyst loves Chigakonkwo. All of the advanced stats are just so beautiful for Chig. And
Really?
so, yeah, oh yeah, like all of his catch rate, his yards per reception, yards per target, everything that's a little bit nerdy is Chigakonkwo was great for. So there's a lot of Chigakonkwo breakout love because also the targets are there. We'll talk about that with your Titans, of course. Then we're gonna talk a little bit because, like I said, Ryan, definitely you're an NFL guy. The real football I feel like is where you excel the most. So I want to get your thoughts on some over unders, where the lines are currently at for a few teams. That I looked at all. I pulled them all up today from FanDuel Sportsbook. So I've got those here. And we're gonna go through a few of those a little bit later. But first things first, though, Ryan, let me just ask you, how are you feeling about the Tennessee Titans? Now, keep in mind, we've got about a 40-minute time limit, and we do have things to cover here. So
Right.
don't go too crazy here. But just where are you? The Titans, they've been such a scrappy, competitive team that
Yes.
I mean, gosh, they were the 1 seed 2 seasons ago,
Yeah.
right? And they've had these good playoff runs in the Henry era. How are you feeling going into 2023?
Uh, well, of course, I mean, we got a new GM, and so new guy from San Francisco. So no more John Robinson. No more saying we have a fellow SEMO alum
I
as the
know.
GM. I mean, I'm not too sad about it. Look and thinking about it. um, but yeah, the off season. I mean, of course, they haven't had as much cap space as you would want. They've had to make some moves, and then of course you had the draft in which they drafted the guy that loves mayo in his coffee, Will Levis, and you know, I'm not feeling too great about it still, even all these months later. Um, so I really don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. All thinking about it, all my favorite teams, I think I'm more indifferent on them. Like Cardinals right now are trash right now. Um, Grizzlies have been really good, but you got the jaw stuff going on, so that's concerning.
Right.
Um, and then I got a little bit of hope in my Tennessee Volunteers,
Right.
which is weird to say. So I'm indifferent about the Titans. I think this year, like I really don't know what to expect from them this year. Like I'm still expecting them to be like you said, be a scrappy team, put up a fight. It's going to be a team that runs the ball a whole lot with Henry, and it's going to play solid defense. They still got some pieces on the defense that are really good, but I really don't know. I just take a look at the division, and I'm like, I think Jacksonville is that team to beat now.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at too. I think Jacksonville, they won the division last year at 9-8. I could see them winning it again this year, maybe a 10-7. Kind of like I don't think they're gonna be a dominant over the top winning of the division, but I don't really see anybody else quite getting there. I do feel like the Titans. I feel like they have decided to commit for one more try at it, though. Like they didn't trade Henry. There was like that came up a little bit back at the draft,
Yeah.
right? Of like, do they move on from Henry? And I think it would make a bit of sense, but at the same time, the running back is so devalued. Like, what are
Mm-hmm.
you getting for him? Versus he is still, he's a difference maker still in the field, even at the running back kind of devalued position. He still does make those plays there. And so then obviously you've got a couple of rookie quarterbacks, the other two teams in the division. I don't really expect a whole lot of winning going on with either one of those two. So, Ryan, let's start there. Let's start with Derrick Henry. You know, for the last 4 years, he has been just this dominant force for fantasy owners. Should we expect Derrick Henry to be that top 5, top 6 running back again? I've got him ranked at 11 right now in my rankings. Let me pull up Fantasy Pros real quick and just see where he is ranked in Fantasy Pros. Among running backs in PPR leagues, he is ranked at running back 10. So he's right there where I've got him, just kind of outside those guys, right? You got your Nick Chubb, Ramondre
Mm-hmm.
Stevenson, Tony Pollard group right there in front of him. Right? How do you think Derrick Henry stacks up with those guys?
I think he stacks up pretty well. You mentioned Stevenson. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and I loved having him. Like he was there. There are some really good weeks from him. There are also a couple weird ones where Damian Harris came back. But I feel with Henry, it's kind of like what you said with the Titans as a whole. It's one more year, and I feel like that's it. Now, last year he caught more targets, was more of a threat in the passing game. So maybe if he's kind of like that, maybe that can expand his career a little bit. Maybe not by a whole lot, but kind of like I'm going to throw an NBA reference here. Brooke Lopez, like guy was a true center, and with the way the NBA has gone, changed his game, started shooting threes, and has stuck around a little bit more. Been an impact player. So I think with Henry, I think if he starts to be more of a threat in the passing game, then I think you could really see an expansion of his career. But as far as fantasy wise, if he catches more passes, that's going to be great for him too because he's going to be more involved in the passing game. He's not going to be running in between the tackles a whole lot, and that might save some wear and tear for him, down the road in which you might need a good performance out of him in your lineup.
Well, and not to mention, it does feel like even with Derrick Henry's prime, right? Even those King Henry seasons in
Mm-hmm.
all capital letters, from time to time, there would be those games where like he's just get game scripted out, right? Those games where the Titans do fall behind early. They don't happen often. I'm saying probably twice per season where they do like I'm looking right now at the 20 well, okay, this is 2017. So this is back before he was relevant. Let me go to one more recent here of like even well that was a win, but still I think point kind of stands though. The 2020 against the Bears, he had 21 carries but only 68 yards, no catches, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I feel like from time to time the Browns also in 2020 15 carries for 60 yards, in one catch. And so it's like from time to time Derrick Henry would get these games where the Titans fall behind, they have to throw. And Derrick Henry's not involved in the passing game, and especially in PPR, that's going to hurt, right? That's why
Hmm.
Nick Chubb can never quite seem to quite break through the way he does in non PPR, is just because of that scoring function. And so a couple times per year, Derrick Henry would put up these not total duds. He's still getting like 60 yards on the ground, but it
Yeah.
is just 60 yards on the ground, right? He's not scoring a touchdown versus, hey, if all of a sudden now you can throw 3 catches in on top of that, well, there's 3 more points. Let's say he gets another 20 yards receiving off of it. And that's another chance to get in the end zone potentially, right? So that other avenue of potential, right, is one thing that we've really never seen much from Henry. It is very interesting to me that last year he had a career high in receptions. I
Hmm.
did not realize that with 33. Ryan, I feel like I remember giving you crap about it like 4 years ago that there was like a report of Derrick Henry working on his pass catching. And I'm like, we see this every offseason with Derrick Henry. He's working on his pass catching. And like it never played into anything for years and years with him. But finally last year, it only took until what, year 8, year 7 of
Better late
his,
than never.
and he finally learned how to catch a football.
That's one thing at the University of Alabama they didn't teach them.
Right. I do have him right behind Miles Sanders, which I feel like is a bit of a
Mm.
controversial one. Miles Sanders now with Carolina. I'm expecting a huge workload for Miles Sanders. Of course, Derrick Henry is the king of volume. Uh, do you expect Henry to get with Tajay Spears now in the picture? Do you project Tajay Spears to really be involved in the offense at all?
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he'll be kind of what they want Darrington Evans to be when they
Mm.
drafted him a couple years back. I mean, I think back to his performance in the this is college football now against USC in the Cotton Bowl, and their defense wasn't anything to write home about, but he just ran rampant on them. And I think he's going to be a guy that's going to see some carries in this offense, but I think it's still going to be Henry. And I mean, you already got a offensive line where you've got a couple young guys, particularly Skronsky, their first round pick. So I think you're going to rely on old reliable and King Henry to get you those yards and get you those carries. But I expect Spears to see some touches in this offense. Yeah.
Let me just throw some names at you here and tell me just, hey, do you want Derrick Henry or do you want this guy in your
Okay.
draft? Okay. Let's start out with Tony Pollard.
Ooh, I might want Tony.
Ramondre Stevenson.
I'm a little bit biased because again had him
Okay.
on my team last year, so I might say Stevenson.
Now think wisely here. I might end the Zoom call immediately. J.K. Dobbins.
Uh, I'm gotta go with Henry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got to.
I'm going Henry there too. Najee Harris.
mm, a lot of it depends on how Steelers their offensive line is as well. I might stick with Henry.
I've become a bit more optimistic on Najee recently, and I spoke about this just the other day on the pod when I was kind of talking about Jalen Warren. I like some of the things Pittsburgh's done for their offense from a running game standpoint. Between the big tight end they drafted a tackle. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm getting some good vibes right now for Najee Harris, and I've still got Henry ahead of him too. But I just think that could be an interesting thing. Let's pivot over here and let's talk about one of my personal favorite players in kind of the flex range of wide receivers, a very good talent in Traylon Burks. Ryan, obviously last year was very frustrating, I'm sure, as a Titans fan with Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
You had the whole asthma situation. He was, I think, kind of out of shape, if I remember right, a little bit, right? He just kind of had some struggles there that rookie year.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Let's start out as a Tennessee fan here first. How are you feeling about the fact that Traylon Burks is your team's number one receiver right now?
Uh, well, not the best. Uh, we could do better. I mean, you got the DeAndre Hopkins rumors flying around.
I would hate
Uh,
that. Like, just from a fantasy standpoint, I would hate it if Hopkins went to Tennessee because I don't like Tennessee's going to be such a like. You guys are very much a run a modern day run heavy team, right? Like no
Yes.
team is truly run heavy in the NFL anymore. But if there was one, the
Mm,
Titans are one of them, right?
yeah.
And so like there's only so many footballs to go around. And if DeAndre Hopkins shows up and starts gobbling all of them up, then it's like, well, where's the footballs after everybody else?
Yeah.
I want my Traylon Burks to get a football, and he can't have one now.
Yeah. Burks, there were, like you said, it was a rough rookie season last year. The asthma and coming out of shape stuff was concerning. He did have that one good game against Green Bay. I think that
Yeah.
was the last time the Titans were ever good that last season. And had a really good game. And I remember he had an awesome catch against Philly and he got headshot. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I mean, you can't do anything about that. Um, there's a couple signs of promise last year, but I think, from the reports we're seeing out of this all season, he's in shape. He looks a lot different, looks more leaner, and looks like he's ready to go. That's really exciting considering they want him to be an AJ Brown type. Although I would say Burks is a little bit taller, a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and AJ Brown is just such a special player. Like
He
that
is.
was one knock I had on Burks going into his rookie year, is that I think a lot of people look at him because stylistically he is a little bit like AJ, right? Run for
Hmm.
the catch, kind of the bigger physical, running back bull, style. But man, AJ Brown is just so darn good at that and so highly efficient. I think it's really hard to just put that expectation on anybody. One thing, Ryan. So I'm very hopeful on Traylon Burks. Tanner, the usual co-host, is even more so. Like, I have to bring him in when we're talking about Traylon Burks. Like if it were up to Tanner, Traylon Burks would be like wide receiver 15. So I would like bring him back a little bit. The stretch that I look at, and I have a lot of hope for Traylon Burks, is weeks 10 through 13 last year, where he went 6 targets, 3 catches, 24 yards. And it's like, okay, well, what are you seeing out of that? He got 6 targets against the Denver defense. That was a really good Denver defense last year.
Yes.
And then you had that blow up game against Green Bay. He followed it up with another 6 target, 4 catch for 70-yard game against Cincinnati. And then, yeah, he has the 1 catch for a 25-yard touchdown against Philly. Like I said, he gets hurt, only played 10 snaps. That's the stretch that I look at and say, he might have had something there.
Hmm.
Because even the stinker game in there was a 3 catch for 24-yard game. Sure. That'll happen as a rookie. But hey, look at that Green Bay game. 8 targets, 7 catches, 111. And then the Cincinnati game with the 4 catches for 70, very involved in the offense in that game. He did also have a carry in that game. He also had a carry against Philly. Also, that's one thing I expect a lot. Like you said, expect him to be involved in the running game a little bit. And so I'm excited about Traylon Burks. I think that in kind of the round 6, 7 range where he's going, I think he's got real breakout potential. Because again, right, we talk about the offense. I'm not missing anybody here among these wide receivers. There's
No.
nothing else there. I've got him projected. I did my Titans projections earlier, and I've got him projected for a total of 114 targets for Traylon
Mm.
Burks. That's a really solid number to get a guy who's kind of going in that 30 range. So yeah, I'm a big Traylon Burks believer for this year for fantasy.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that stretch. I think if I remember this correctly, when AJ was a rookie, that he wasn't doing so hot early on, but then later on in that season, he had a really good stretch, and that sort of built upon his sophomore year where he really took off. And you kind of
And,
wonder
and we see that
if,
for a lot of rookie wide receivers have that. That's a very natural
yeah,
curve. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you wonder about that if he had stayed healthy. Could we have seen something similar out of that to where you feel really great about him coming into this year? But there's still a lot of question marks. But again, the reports so far have been really positive. I
So look,
think
oh, go ahead.
for for somebody like you and Tanner who are really high on him, I think those reports are really encouraging. But also, what's really encouraging is that he and Okonkwo are probably the two main guys that are going to see targets in the passing game.
Oh,
That's exciting.
and we'll get the chick. We will get to trust me, we will get to Chig, baby. Let me give you some names again here. Stop me when you would take Traylon Burks over this guy. Debo Samuel,
I'll take Debo.
Mike Evans.
I think I'll still take Evans, but ever so slightly.
I get it. I get it. I'm becoming more and more in on the Tampa offense, but I totally get it. Terry McLaurin.
McLaurin. Who's the quarterback at Washington now?
It is Sam Howell or
Uh,
Jacoby Brissett. I'm hoping for Brissett. For
uh,
the sake of everybody in that offense, I am hoping for Brissett.
I think I'll take McLaurin. I don't feel great about that, but I think I'll take him.
Christian Kirk.
Kirk. Hmm. I might take Burks there.
Okay.
I might take Burks.
Jerry Judy.
I mean, Denver. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna get.
I
I mean,
know.
you expect things won't be the same way twice, right? I mean, that can't be. I think I'll take Burks.
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams. I might take Mike Williams over a couple of those other guys.
If you know Williams is playing 16 games, right? Like then for sure,
Yeah.
right? But I know I don't like putting the injury prone label on players. I don't like factoring injuries in, but like there are times where you have to make exceptions. I think he's one of those.
Yeah.
Jahan Dotson.
Oh man. Dotson. He's with the Commanders too, isn't he?
He is. He was fun last year in the second half there. Like he caught, I think, 7 touchdowns in 10 games, I believe it was.
Yeah, he had that stretch was insane. Uh I'll take him, but I think if Burks can have a good year, he'll close the gap.
Calvin Ridley.
Oh man, we haven't seen anything out of Calvin in a while.
I know. That's what I'm kind of down on Calvin Ridley. Taylor's all in on Calvin Ridley. I'm kind of lower on him.
Yeah, you just gotta see how he works in the Jacksonville offense. I mean, if we had seen something last year, maybe say, yeah, take him over Traylon. But nah, I think I'll take Burks over him.
Tyler Lockett.
Ooh, Lockett. I mean, you got DK there. They got Jackson
You got
there.
JSN now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll still take him. I don't feel great about it, but I'll still take him over
So
Burks.
I think part of what we the point of all this was to point out that like that whole stretch of wide receivers, that was 10 guys. It is so tough to pick among those guys. Like if you're at that point in the draft, maybe that's where you pivot to a running back for a round and let
Right.
somebody else just kind of clear that group up, because then Gabe Davis,
Yeah.
right? It's an easy Burks. Juju, Michael Thomas, Jordan Addison, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Cortland Sutton. Like you're probably taking Burks over all those guys. And you know, maybe if Michael Thomas gets good stories coming out, that we can go back and revisit him. But
Yeah.
I think the rest of it becomes pretty easy. But man, there's that whole stretch though, from like wide receiver like 25 to 34. I don't know, man. It's a tough group. It's a tough group to try to wade through. And all of them, you see the good, but you also see the lumps. You know, that whole group.
Exactly.
It's a really tough group to go through. All right, let's talk about our beautiful and wonderful little baby boy, Chico Conquo. Ryan, have you seen anything, you know, from OTAs? Have you seen anything over the summer? Where's your hype level at on Chig?
I mean, I think the hype level is like he's going to be Jonnu Smith 2.0, and I think that was the expectation when they drafted him. Is that be another Jonnu and try to not make the same mistake and get somebody like his caliber back. So I'm excited. He had a couple games there where he made some really good plays, where he really showed flashes of like, whoa, okay, you can see where the Jonnu comparisons come in. So I'm excited about Chig and seeing where this season takes off. I mean, obviously, in that second round, I would have wanted somebody like Michael Mayer instead of Levis to kind of pair with Chig, because Chig is not, he's not the prototypical tight end like Jonnu was. But I'm excited to see what he can do and see if he can tap into that potential that they drafted him for.
Well, and Ryan, if you remember way back when I was a big Johnu Smith guy,
Hmm.
and I agree, all the things I really liked about Johnu, I do see in Chig. Just a couple things real quick. Let's just remind the people. This is what Chig did as very much a part-time player last year. 46 targets, 32 catches, 450 yards, 14.1 yards per reception, three touchdown catches. He had that bomb of a 48 yarder. He had a 69.6 catch percentage. Like just a wonderful player is Chigo Conquo. 8 out of 7.6 is kind of right in that tight end sweet spot, I think, where like he's getting his catches far enough down the field to be able to be something. He's not just a security blanket at tight end. So you'd like to see that. I do have him at tight end 13. Like we can't go too crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm taking Dulcich over him. I'm taking Fryermuth over him. But I think the upside of Chig is exciting. Like you said, he's the number two option in this offense.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's a number two in this offense, and he's got a lot of potential. And yeah, it depends on if they do want to bring in Hopkins, if that changes things. But as of right now, he's got a clear shot at being a guy that Tannehill looks to make plays besides Burks and obviously besides Henry in the run games. Like, hey, we're counting on you to make plays for us. And I think, I hope they got a good offensive coordinator to get him touches because I felt like Downing, I'm thankful I can forget about him. Where like it felt like they subbed out him and Burks at times last year. It's like those guys are, even though they're raw, they're your two best playmakers. Leave them out there. And there
Yeah.
are times where like, here's Westbrook Akine out here, and like here's some other scrub receiver that they picked off the practice squad of, the trash team. So like, I'm hopeful this year. I'm hopeful that he can really start to see his potential.
I am too. I think Chig I don't want to quite say the sky is the limit because the sky is the limit for like a Kyle Pitts, but like the Evan Ingram is the limit at the moment. And then
Hmm.
next year the sky is the limit, right? Like he might be 2 years away from a big breakout, but I think he could definitely have like that step forward breakout this year. All right, I want to go over some quick team over and unders and just get your thoughts on where some of these NFL teams sit at the moment as we sit here on June 28th. First things first here, Ryan. I feel like I typed this one wrong because I'm pretty sure there's more hype on them. I'm pretty sure their over under was actually 9.5, not 7.5. Ryan, are you in on the Detroit Lions at 9.5 wins this season?
I think so. I mean, I'm thinking about the division really quickly here. I mean, the Packers, Jordan Love era, how's that going to go? Vikings, you lose a couple pieces there. And the Bears, I mean, even though I think you and I have really liked what they've done this offseason, uh, still Justin Fields, can he still produce? So yeah, I like the lines there. Yeah.
I think I'm actually going to take the Bears with the division.
Oh,
Yeah. I know that's a little spicy. I haven't settled fully on that, but yeah, that's where I think I'm going to go. What about the Miami Dolphins at 9.5 also?
uh, hmm.
And I believe they were third in the AFC East
Man.
behind the Jets and the Bills.
I think I'll take him there. I'm feeling great about it because I got the Jets in the back of my mind, but I'll take him there. But I don't feel
Okay.
great.
I definitely screwed up on the spreadsheet. I definitely like put a team twice or something because I have on my spreadsheet it says Atlanta at 10.5 wins and it says Buffalo at 7.5 wins and it says Chicago at 11.5 wins and Bengals at 9.5. So somewhere along the way on this spreadsheet, I got off by a line and I just kept on going. So these lines are not official. Do not go demanding the sports book to go and place these bets accordingly. I
Oh man.
believe Buffalo is supposed to be a 10.5. Ryan, I've been feeling a lot of bad juju about Buffalo here lately. Am I justified in that, or do you need to put me back in check?
Yeah, I mean, with the Stephon Diggs stuff happening as of late, I mean, you should feel a little bit justified in that. I still like him there. I still like him to win that division, but I mean, yeah, can't feel that great about what's been going on out of the Bills camp with Diggs lately, for sure.
Cleveland 9.5.
Mm,
I know it's a morally sticky one, isn't it?
uh, I'm tapping into our views pod. I'm like, no, it's Jimmy Haslam. No.
We talked about a little bit there. I mentioned Mike Evans, Tampa Bay. What do you think their
Mm.
win total was sitting at? I felt disrespected by this.
Was it like 5 or something?
6.5.
6.5.
And it was plus money to take the over.
Mm. Okay.
I feel like that is like, I know there's a lot of worries about what Tampa's going to be with Baker. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But that defense is good. You've still got Evans and Godwin. I think that in a bad division to boot. Like, it's not like there's a team in there that's going to hand you 2 easy losses.
No.
There's 6 potential wins on the board in just the division. Like, to me, that's a smash over.
I think you've talked me into it.
Look at me go. This is one I'm gonna bring up, and we've only got a few minutes left here, Ryan. I want to bring this one up just because it's a high bar, and I feel like we see this a lot of times with Super Bowl hangover. Philly 11.5.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we saw it last year with the Rams, but I think Philly's a little bit different situation with the Rams. Even though they did lose a lot of players, they just seem to restock and seem to restock them with Georgia players. It seemed like all during the draft and getting DeAndre Swift. I still like him to win that division. I still like him, even though they lost their 2 coordinators, particularly Steichen and making Hurts explode last year in that offense. I still like him. I like him at that, at that spot.
And I will take the Cowboys to win that division. The schedule is a big part for that for me. The first and
America's
second.
team.
That's right. Giddy up. How about them Cowboys? All righty. That'll do it for us here on the ADP, the Average Dude podcast. Ryan, where can people hear you? Where can people find you? Where can people see you?
You can check out the Views and Entertainment podcast, pretty much where you guys can find this podcast. Be sure to go check us out, subscribe. YouTube, we're on there at 573 Podcasts. Got a few videos up. Be sure to go do all the YouTube stuff. And on Twitter, find me at Ryan Views 573. I've had to check my Twitter account to make sure that's the right handle a couple times. I'm like, wait, is that it? Yeah. So be sure to go check me out there and check out the podcast account as well at 573 Pod. So I think that's everything. You never know.
I know. There's so many to try to keep remember. We are at ADP Dudes on Twitter. Yeah, like Ryan said, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Real Matt Mormon. Follow Tanner also at Tanner Ward 7. Tanner will be back soon. He had the big wedding last week, or a couple weekends ago now. He's kind of getting everything straightened up after that. So I will have my usual co-pilot, the Chewbacca to my Han Solo. He will be back. Let's be honest, I'm Chewbacca. He's Han Solo. But the usual gang will be back together here before too long. I miss him dearly. And I know all of you do too. So thank you all for sticking with us, and we will talk to y'all next time.